It's Thursday, it's 8:30. Welcome everybody for the flight of the winter at late night soaring. And we have a split show today. We will start first with the news of OLC. So I welcome first of all, Heiko Hertrich from Bayreuth. Welcome, Heiko.
Hi, welcome. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we are very proud that you are here. Tell us some news about OLC, about some new features, and also we will have some new rules where we'll fly this season. But before you start with your introduction, I want to introduce as well. Welcome, Benny.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, Heiko, what's new in OLC?
Yeah, we have introduction already on some new features in Poppenhausen during the OLC final last year in October. But since this time, a lot of things happen and I want to introduce this stuff. Could I share my screen potentially? Good. Okay, I will tell you a little bit about the new features of this year. And I start directly with the new 4-leg speed rules and new speed and league rules as well. They are valid as of March 1st, so just a couple of days away. We have this independent 4-leg speed calculation now for the 2.5-hour speed ranking. Everybody knows that we had always problems with these 6-leg legs, and out of the 6-leg evaluation, the 4-leg speed was calculated, and that was always not the fastest speed on the 4 legs. But now the flight will be analyzed first for the 6 legs, and then a second run will be done for the 4-leg calculation, and that gives you the optimum for the 4 legs. No change on the 6-leg speed calculation, what you see in the flight information page always. So this is also based for the league rules. The league rules were complicated in the last years, and a lot of people complained a little bit on this. Anyhow, the 15-kilometer start circle will be cancelled. That gives
I have one question to the first point.
Yeah.
Did I get it right? It's the same as in the beginning of the speed flying? So we are going back.
Yeah, more or less the same. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the optimum on the 4-leg now. So that would be calculated out of your flight path, just 4 legs. Forget the 6 legs for this calculation. And on 4-leg, of course, the overall performance is much, or not much, is sometimes higher.
That's different waypoints. It's a 4-leg calculation as at the 6-leg calculation.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, good. The 15-kilometer start circle, that creates some problems for these guys flying below the airspaces, or they have a long tow into the first thermals. And so with a lot of discussions and with pilots, so we see no sense anymore to keep to this start circle. So you can fly whatever you want, or you can tow wherever you want. The second point is that the target circle remains, because that was really a progress in this avoidance of this tactical usage of the engines. We saw in the years of 2012 and growing every year to 2015 that the guys flew with the wind, just on tailwind, 2.5 hours. Sometimes, or very often then, not going back, but using the engine. So that was a tactical engine use, what we saw, and that gives these additional, let's say, 20 k's of speed, because of the wind was normally around 20 k's, and this has to be avoided, that otherwise the whole league just was going to be a kilo league, as we say in Germany now, a league with, you need the engine in your planning already, and that is not the right way to do. So we stick to the target circle around the ground start, but will be expanded from 15 to 40 kilometers now. Makes life easier, bring the people better home. In 40 kilometers, you easily can decide for a nice outlanding figure, so you not need to run into the ground in a 15-kilometer circle anymore. In addition, We give now the 75% speed points if the target circle is not reached. So any outlanding or engine use outside the target circle will bring you still the 75% of speed points, especially for the small clubs when only 3 people are in the air and one has to land out and got the 0 points in the past. Now he get at least the 75%. 75% because again, we are running around 100 kilometers per hour. We are in average speed. We have the wind speed of 20 kilometers per hour. So if you go just with the wind, you have some, not a big advantage anymore to use your engine to come back and or fly the whole day with the wind. So this is the winning
situation. What kind of wind do you need? That's a 75% with a tailwind is better than return?
And if you have maybe the whole day around, you have the 30 kilometers wind in flight altitude, and you use it intensively, you get 30 kilometers as a gift from the wind for 2.5 hours. And then if you land out 300 kilometers away from your home airport and you get 75%, means if you reach the 100 kilometers per hour with an average wind speed of 30 or so, you need just an cross-country speed of 70 or so. It's just a rough calculation. But if the wind is more than 25 kilometers per hour and your average speed is 100 kilometers per hour, you have still an advantage to use the engine to go home. But that is not that big that it's worth that you run the engine 2 hours or 3 hours to go home, like we saw in 2014, 2015 many times. You understand?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, great. I hope that these guys in Switzerland or so were towing into the Alps, or even we got a lot of discussions also from your states where they fly often these 40 kilometers into the first terminal, so they are happy with this stuff.
Yeah, I think at least the second point is a real big advantage again. Because
okay, good. Well, I think the second point. Yeah, you're right. The second point here, the big advantage. Okay, so coming to the next nice feature, the flight finder and the new maps. The flight finder maybe is already in since last year, but everybody saw it so far. Just a button in the gliding page here, and the new button here, or let's say behind the flight finder are these 1.7 million flights since 2006, what OLC has stored from 30,000 pilots, 2,000 airfeeds, 2,000 clubs, 800 aircraft types, a huge amount of value to evaluate in these flights now, and with this tool flight finder. And the new button here is the map button, Karte in Germany, the map button. So for example, see an example now I used here, for example, Pirmasens. You want to go for 2 months or into holidays. So you look in July or August, 2 months. And we are looking for big flights, 800 points only. Just press find. And after the list of this list comes up, you press the Karte or map button, and you got immediately a nice picture. This is also available in the daily score and the spot profile. So the club scoring, the flight book, your personal flight book, and so all what is listed in a list. This is then shown in the map. Looks like this. Here, this example from Pirmasens from 2006 to 2022. All flights above 800 points. Tobias, Alexander, Baptist, Tobias, Philip Keller. Oh, great. So Philip asked 3 weeks or 4 weeks ago, when was it with the Provence thermal session of late night soaring. He asked for what is with the Vercure. And here you see the Vercure as well. You see a lot of flights, as more flights as are done on this area or on this line or in a hotspot, as more the color changed from blue to white. That is a nice picture. You see all the flight paths, the most pilots flying here around in the Vercure down to the up to the valleys. Here the Vercure Royale. And going closer in, if you zoom in here, you see much more pictures. It remains wide if a lot of people use the same hotspot or the same hotline. I would say the hotline sounds good. Here the hotspots, Rochebrune or so, yeah, Dédamont, very nice. And clicking on single flight passes, you get it red and more information on them than in the list. Other example, we had 2 or 3 weeks ago as well, these guys from Scotland. I just used 4 airfields here in Scotland, looked for 500 points, who flew there. Immediately you got the map, you see these donk flights out of Kingross, most of the flights, but a Boeing as well here. The farthest flight just to the coast of Ireland is highlighted. Just click on this flight path. You get a light background here for this flight. If it's down there, it scrolls automatically, comes up here, you see where it was, when it was, 2018, 1,200 kilometers, 1,097 points in Scotland. Pretty nice feature here to analyze this stuff. And because on this session, Christoph Maul and Thomas Seiler, they showed us their nice flight via the Isle of Skye to the Outer Hebrides. That was an amazing flight. They get a good certificate for this. Had to put it in a special BGA tour with smoking or so. Get the award.
Was funny to see them in smoking.
Christoph in smoking. That was nice.
Or Thomas.
Well, a lot of laughing, around this. But it was a really impressive flight. What I see, and for me, the point to decide is here around this Isle of Skye, to decide crossing the sea and coming back and immediately find again the wave. So in OSC maps, you have the chance to go in a very detailed manner. And here we see this on the barogram, the flight from Skye to Lewis, jump and in Lewis a wave, and then flying back. And here exactly on this point, you see all these wave again. The highest point here, 5,600 meters. The glider is here from 600 meter mountains. That's nearly 10 times. Imagine, Matthias, 10 times.
We're just calculating the heights at 3,000 meters, so we can go up to flight level 300. Huh?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I meant. Go to Gross Club.
It's more 3,000 meters and flight level 300. No, that doesn't match. It's even more.
That is amazing what these small mountains create on lift. And I wonder what happens if the lift would not been there. So of course, they said it can land in Stornoway on the Isle of Lewis. But going back, even that was southwesterly wind, of course. Even a little bit with the headwind, they come to here and jump into the wave. And if not, if this would go on here, here is a street and the OSC map. If you look here, I looked into this area and zoom in, just zoom in, and immediately you see the satellite picture without changing the map. So just zooming in, you see along the street and along this little lake, what is called Lofton Burn. You see a landing area potentially. I'm not counting on this now. You have to see it on the ground with ground investigation. But nevertheless, this is about 200, 300 meters or so. Would be potentially enough. So this is a nice feature in the new maps, not just zooming in. Another example for this is out of the German juniors competition this year in Burg Feuerstein, team flying, 2 guys, and they landed here, obviously, along the Autobahn R9, widen seas. So zooming in, you see they are just 150 meter flying here around. That's not, did they see this already? And if you zoom the next, that's 500 meters going to 300 meters, the map immediately switches to the feed and you see where they land. They look to this feed. They flew along these forests here and saw this island without no forests, close to this city, close to the Autobahn. pretty good landing feed. Yeah, and even you could zoom in a little bit more, and a lot of details you see jumping out of the glider. The guys, of course not, but this good landing there. And why they land close to this little village, Franconia? You everywhere have your beer garden. Okay, great.
On the old sea, I understand right? All beer gardens are marked?
All beer gardens could be visited.
Oh, okay. That's a good feature,
marked,
isn't it?
Yeah. But you see, these are details now we have on this map. And just with scrolling with the mouse into the map, you come down to this picture now from this first one we saw. Other good example, Unterwössen. From Unterwössen, all the Alpine flights with these good marks, with these hotlines. I marked just one line. Is only a single flight path close south of Bozen. Yeah, so you can mark out of this all pictures from the last 15 years. Just
so that's all flights from out of Unterwössen. With the flight finder, you just put in Unterwössen. Show me all flights Unterwössen. Or what is
exactly? No, I recommend to take to use 500 or 800 points as minimum. Because otherwise you get here so much flights around that you have just a white bubble. Yeah. Or you do some restriction on the timing. Just the last 3 years or something like this, or just August flights or something like this. What do you want?
But if you go maybe for holidays, you go maybe for a nudge, you will see, okay, what the guys are doing in this time of the year. You just go for nudge. Yeah. And put in April, and you can see what the guys are going.
Yes, exactly. Okay. I will show it maybe later on in lifetime when we come to our winter flight and analyze this a little bit. We can see it in live. Okay, another good example, especially for you, Matthias.
I know where it is.
You know where it is.
Yeah,
all flights above. I think 800 points from Worcester in the last 15 years. Of course, most of them in the last 5 years. Some into the Karoo, a lot of them always the same ridge as the easterly ridge. But here, very interesting, the upper ridge, the lower ridge. It's called upper and lower, no, Matthias?
Yeah, the front ridge and the back ridge.
Front ridge and back ridge, yeah. And interesting was the points, no, where the most pilots changed the ridge. So zooming in, you see, that's pretty interesting where they fly. And the back ridge, it's not that defined like the front ridge, huh? But the front ridge ends here. If you want to go farther north,
that's the way it is. Here. That's the way it is.
Yeah, exactly. And on the other side, the southern part down to the ocean is very defined. So people going to the first time to Worcester and looking into this one, they do it very easy, or the best way to follow exactly these well-known routes the first time. There are other routes.
Oh, you ask when Olivier is there at the airfield and he will tell you.
Know everything.
Same way.
Same way, huh? Good. The cloud satellite image overlay is pretty new. So far, we had already this Deutsche Wetterdienst and the top meteor charts for Germany only. And for Europe, there are some top meteor weather charts already available since a couple of years. That is pretty interesting, especially for wave flying. Where comes the wind from? If you just click flight level 130 or 85, whatever you want, you got this nice top meteor weather chart from 12 UTC. So it's 2 o'clock normally in Middle Europe. Here the flight level 85 wind, and immediately can compare this stuff with the flight path. So far, now the next step was to introduce the clouds overlays in a 13 and 15 minutes sequence. With your login, you get the 15 minutes. A test was done during the winter time already for Namibia, Southern Africa, I would say. But now it works for Europe, USA, and some other countries as well. So it's still work in progress, but it works already. This is a flight, for example, from I think Philip Geller in Namibia. So see the resolution is pretty good. This area, you activate it on the map either with a weather button, or you open, what I recommend, the selection button for the map and select here the top meteor visible cloud layer bus. And I recommend to switch off city streets, airspaces, and all this scoring, these blue and red lines, and so to see just the flight path. If you miss a flight path, is a nice button to expand the flight path to the full screen. So if you scroll something around in your map or so, you can't fly in the flight path anymore, just click here and it will be shown on full in the map. And if the pilot puts in some pictures, it's always good to compare the picture. Here's a picture made now with the clouds here, clouds here. When this is switched on, 15 minutes later, it looks like this. He's flew to the southwest. Looks like a cloud stream.
Just a question. You select the flight, and at that position, you select the flight, you get the satellite picture.
You get the satellite picture when you switch it on, exactly.
Yeah, and it is also always a satellite picture of that time where you are flying. So it's just a real flight.
It's always a satellite picture where you put in your current line in the paragram, so you can fly around in the paragram. We can see it live later on. Or wait a minute, let me see.
And you have 15 minutes interval?
Yes.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, that's like a movie now running on.
Yeah.
Let me see. No. Now I have to switch off the
I understand. Thank you.
So either you go with the mouse pointer just along the barogram, you see the flight going on, and the cloud switches every 15 minutes. Yeah, as this you go along here, or you switch through the pictures, just with the mouse also on the picture. Yeah, then the current position switches along the glide path. Yeah. Okay, very nice picture in the States we have, because the resolution is a little bit better and will be better in next couple of months when a new satellite is taking off, when they use a rockets for the satellite, hopefully, or not for the.
So you have your own satellite? This is an old sea satellite, yeah?
Nah, come on. Of course not. Nah, I said for the USA, they get a much better resolution. Yeah, but already now you see the nice cloud streets also in Florida. Was a flight from 25th of February, so pretty early flight in the year in Florida. Okay, that was about the clouds. We have some more stuff here, the forests. That was a request from some competition pilots, where they have the competition in an area they don't know. They always ask, analyzed flights and using forests to get the trigger points for the thermals and so. And therefore we put in these nice patches of green layer into the terrain map, into the elevation map. See the patch, just to make clear, you can analyze where is the thermal coming from. Yeah, this is a so-called forest map. Just to mention.
It's just a highlighting of forest, isn't it? Or
yeah, it's a highlighting on forests. Of course, you could go into the satellite map here, yeah, to see direct in dark the forests, but this is much more telling you really this is a good contrast, I would say, between forest and other and free land. Yeah. Okay, coming up on this new maps is a possibility to select single flights. Yeah, so far in the flight finder, as you see, I put in Königsdorf or Unterwessen or Minden, Nevada or so, and you get all the flights on Minden, or you put in a full a club, no? For example, the LSG Bayreuth or so, you put in and you get the flights, all the flights during this time or so, all the selection points. But here you have the chance to select single flights and not to showing all these flights on the map is mostly it's too much, but single flights and compare them. That's an enhancement of this already available meeting point selection. Yeah, but in the meeting points, you can only select flights of pilots you really met in the flight. The FLARM signals evaluated. You know about this.
Yeah.
It will be a nice feature, but it's coming up. And the next one is possibility to select an area. We don't know either a rectangle or a circle or how we do it. But you can select, for example, who flew today over at our airfield, or on a single day or in a single month, or from our club, who flew to Mont Ventoux. Yeah, I will see all flights in this area in a certain period, or with a certain glider, or from a certain club or so. And then this expand, and you see all the flights through this rectangle in this period, or whatever you select in the flight finder.
Okay, now I have a request, because now it would be very interesting for me to know just the flights, maybe in the morning or in the evening.
Yeah, okay, the time of the day.
Yeah, it makes a big difference, especially at the Alps. If you go in the morning to see, okay, what the guys are doing in the morning in the same area, what they're doing in the final glide in the evening.
Okay, I forgot to mention this, that we want to introduce the time as well, but I give you the patent for this.
That's okay.
Okay, it's very important. Right.
Yeah, it will be the small Papa Mike.
Yeah, it's also interesting. If you fly, for example, from Pirmasens to Mont Ventoux, and you have a lot of troubles there because a thunderstorm starts, and you ask, I was there at 2 o'clock. Who was there at 3 o'clock? How could they make it? Yeah, and then you put in 3 to 4 or something like this. Who flew to a point I couldn't reach, and how did they do that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
that's great.
Could be very nice. Nice feature. Okay, yeah. Then we introduced last year already our help desk. That was in April. People complained a lot of time that they got not a good support from OSC, or that this was always late mails, or not a good, yeah. Nevertheless, OSC is a volunteer, is made on volunteer base. The people just have time to take care in the evening, late evening, in the night, 1 day per week or so, and therefore we tried to solve nearly everything what could be possible in these FAQs. And so everybody who has a question or something like this, please look first in the FAQs to get an answer or find your answer. No? Because sending an email, I forgot my password, needs a couple of minutes at least for our volunteers to answer. Therefore, use the help button always out of the flight information page, and only in really case of something goes completely wrong and FAQs cannot answer it. Out of the flight information page is good, because then the URL from the flight will immediately put in. In the flight, we see your name, we see everything what is necessary to answer pretty quick. Even if you have a question, a passport question or anything else, use one of your flights, and then we will find everything. That helps a lot, because in the last year, so when this is looking, the ticket now comes in as a mail you send us, but it's automatically formed into a ticket, get the right guy to answer it, and so on. And in 2021, when you started the help desk till today, we had nearly 560 tickets to execute it and closed. In the good times, in the summertime or so, we had up to 25 per week. And you can imagine, with just on volunteer base, we cannot spend an hour per ticket. That is not possible, not at all. And luckily, these 560 tickets, 80 of them could be solved with short FAQ answers. That means our administrator, what is Jürgen Wilken, mostly Jürgen is doing this stuff, he just copy-paste the FAQ answer and send it back. And it was in nearly 100% of the cases of these 80% here, the case that the guys were happy. So first look into FAQs. That gives us the possibility to solve these 19% of the rest of the tickets with this intensive mail traffic. Now to figure out what was really the problem, this is, and gives us some opportunity to have close communication. And just in 1% of these tickets, we really find potential system bugs, or people came in with realistic proposals. And that all comes to further internal action, and that is work in progress. A lot of these new ideas, what I just introduced, came from this. The communication with the pilots is much better due to this help desk process now. Okay, then we have another nice feature introduced last year. This is a flight book, Flugbuch, flight book printout. Out of the flight information, you just press the button drucken at the moment or print in English, but it will be PDF in the next couple of days or weeks or so. And then you got a PDF, what you can print on your own or store it or whatever. That looks like this is just an example. Multiple pages with all the performance data of your flight. What you see also in the flight information page, including also your pictures from the story. And so it's pretty good for people who are collecting their 1,000-kilometer flights or so. And we saw birthday gifts where they put this to a little book, to a booklet for the pilot or so, to give him all the 1,000-kilometer flights and so on. Nice feature. The next one is a distance factor, what is introduced as a new scoring system. That gives you plus 0.3 points per single kilometer. That means if you fly like Klaus did it here on the 1st of February, from Serre down to the Pyrenees, along the Pyrenees to the farthest point, that's about 600 kilometers away from his home. And that is shown in this yellow area and with a yellow line. So you can find this beside the blue line for the FAA triangle and the red lines for the 6 OSC legs. And this is a good example here how this compensates the triangle stuff, because Klaus flew 1,300 kilometers, but just a 560 kilometer FAA triangle. He get 140 points for this. Would he have flown a 1,000-kilometer triangle on this day? He would get these 140 points more. And now the distance for 600 compensates exactly these 140 points he's missing due to his out and return flight, I would say. And the same happens, of course, for these target flights, or I have it here, these compensation for the target and out and return flights. Even for these Wandersegelflüge, or in English, the soaring safari flights, they get the abbreviation that they deserve. They really, a lot of pilots who are flying these long distance flights, one flight down to the Southern Alps or so, stay there overnight and fly home the next day. 800, 900,000 kilometers now they fly, and they are in the scoring list on the far end against these guys staying at home flying 600 kilometers on a triangle. And they are pretty happy to get now these compensation for it.
And you got this 0.3 points for the longest leg in your flight, or for what you got this 0.3?
Not a longest leg. This is just the calculation between switching off the engine or release the tow and the farthest point to this point where you release the engine. The farthest point on your flight. It's like looking in circles around where is the farthest point. And this is a single distance of 600 kilometers. And therefore you get the 600 kilometers multiplied by 0.3 points.
And it would be the same points if Klaus would land at the farthest point. He would get the same points for the distance factor.
Yeah, but not the triangle then.
Yeah,
no?
of course. But just to get, because the distance factor is new.
Is new. Now it's in addition to the so-called to the classic six-leg flights and the triangle of this find out of in the 6 legs. So actually 6 legs plus a triangle plus a distance gives now the new scoring.
So you recalculate the old flights with the distance factors as well?
No.
History?
No.
Because you have a statistic, I think the best points flights ever flown, and it makes now.
Yeah, so this was done 2010 or so already when we introduced the FAE triangle. I mean, this is you can see it very nicely now. If you look to your own flights from 2006 to now, you see then in this list, you can find them in the flight finder now. You see in the list that till 2010 or so, there's only this classic points. From 2010 to 2021, there is additional the FAE points for the triangle, and from 2022 onwards, you have all three scales filled, and that was every time in addition. No? So till 2010, he would only have 11. Then he had this number. Now that's always a little bit of progress. Now it's like in the Formula One. When you compare these guys who always just got 6 points or something like this, later on 10 points, and now they have 25 points or so for the first place. Huh? You cannot compare very old scoring systems with the new ones, but that's not that far away. So let's say this is a really big one. Huh? This is 10% or around 10, 11%. Most of the flights you end up with 3% or so for the distance, or 5%. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Next one. The stories and the related thumbnails. Okay, the stories, we have them in 3 years or 4 years already. It's easy to drop in some pictures or edit your story and put in the pictures with a comment. And even if you have no geodata or time on your pictures out of the handy or something out of mobile phone, then you can put in here some timing when you know this picture must be been here there. Look into the paragraph, which time it was, around plus minus 10 minutes is not the big deal, and put in a time on your picture, and then it will be sorted in the right way to the flight path. But the nice point is now these stories, we call it stories here. If you are in a daily scoring list, for example, it works in other lists as well, everywhere where the stories is available. And daily scoring, for example, on a certain day here, you got all these pictures made from pilots in a list as well along the points here. And you can compare, for example, it was a day last year in summertime. It was, is it date here? No, not shown, doesn't matter. Dahlem, Binz, Bonn, Bamberg, Maisheim. This looks like here. You immediately can see around across your area you selected, or the whole daily scores. And so nice to get a quick overview. And it works on with the map, of course, as well. Now, so you can, if you click the stories, only these flights with the picture will be shown on the map as well. If you see some flights in other lists or so with picture, you can also open these ones on their own. If there are a lot of flights without pictures, just press a button and you get all these pictures as thumbnails here in the story. Yeah, great stuff to see in one click all these pictures of a day, for example. So what else? Pretty fast running through the OLC Rookie was a good scoring. We want to avoid too much scoring lists now, but this one was requested by a lot of especially clubs now, who said, okay, even our guys, our young guys, they are not able to be in the ranking lists in top ranking lists. So even these guys below 25, they fly mostly better than the seniors. So the junior lists are the better ones sometimes. Therefore, we introduced this rookie for all pilots never flown a 300-kilometer flight in a single seater. They are rookies as long as they are not winning the stuff, means being a 300-kilometer pilot or more, then they are not longer rookies in the OSC terminology. Could be the age of 50 or 60 or 70, you can also be a rookie, huh? For sure. So then OpenCU Cloud was a nice picture. We agree with CU to get this without having a license on CU. You can open your flight or even flights from others if they do allowing this with a click in their box. Teilnehmeraktualisierung, what's called. I don't care. You can open this in CU and use all the CU features what are available there for flight evaluation. There are your flights and social media. This is much self-explaining here. Facebook and Twitter links open directly in your Facebook page. For example, your flight will be shown there in this thumbnail of a map. You can put in your own comment. The tutorial was introduced. We're in a sequence of a month or so. We bring new features into this tutorial. It's worth always to look into the magazine and follow this stuff, what is described there, to be aware of all the news. Then the new index and handicap list, that was really a trouble over the last years now to work together with all these guys worldwide creating index lists. USA, they have their own list, in France, in Czech Republic, and so. And this year, everybody knows that the list was changed a lot in Germany for the DMSD. And we had really troubles to combine all these lists again and get out with the best result for a worldwide working index list or handicap list. And this is still work in progress, because even the manufacturer of the gliders now, they have very different description of types. There is a here Bindestrich, was heißt in English? Bindestrich. Small letters, big ones for the vendor 3 or so. And to compare the list, you cannot put in just vendor 3 and now compare Czech, USA, DMSD, France list and what else we saw now. And yeah, nevertheless, we try to make the best out of it. It's not finished. I mean, Thomas Biniek and others, Kai Rode Brandenburg, and so they did a very good job in doing a much more scientific work on this handicap list. But nevertheless, that works not worldwide, and therefore we had to adapt it again. And this is a lot of communication necessary and so on, and this is ongoing. However, we publish this now. See the rules page in the OSC. You can see what index we used for all the gliders. So, and there is much more, but I cannot talk here on 2 hours now.
Because we are always above our time limit, actually, but there was a lot of news. We have really interesting for our...
And we have still a long list of ideas and little time. That is a mess on the approach now. So, and if you have more questions or so, use the help online contest.org help address, can send it. Yup.
Okay.
Something new from your side already.
Thank you, Heiko, very much for this introduction of the new features. Please stay with us. Maybe we come back to you if we change now to the flight of the winter. Benny, we were talking we had the idea about the flight of the winter instead of the flight of the month. And it was very interesting in the discussion. What is the flight of the winter? Is it the best flight all over the world? Is it the southern hemisphere? Is it the northern hemisphere? And so what was flown in the winter? Let's show us.
Yeah, it was in fact very interesting. Also the discussion, what we are going to do, what flight of the winter are we going to choose, because I can hardly remember a winter where so many fascinating flights have happened. So in the last years, or in the last summer for the flight of the month, we always used WeGlide, if you remember, to evaluate what the audience thinks, what the people think, and how many hearts, how many likes they give to certain flights. And as you remember, the last real flight of the month was in August with Baptiste, and then September we talked about with Thilo and many others about the flights in southern France and especially the Grand Prix. And then we did not do any flights of the month anymore over the winter. But let's just have a short click through what flights happened and how many people liked it. Well, so there was October. Then in November, we had a very nice, interesting flights in the Black Forest, for example, wave flights and some ridge soaring. And they got 78 likes for some also amazing pictures where in Freiburg in the light of the night, they de-rigged the glider. In December, it was amazing to see Mike Oakley fly almost 2,000 kilometers on the South Island of New Zealand in Omarama. It was an attempt to fly a declared 2,500 kilometer flight, which only just failed. So it wasn't missing too much actually. And he got 164 likes for that. Then in January, it was one of the more fascinating flights I have seen in the recent history of gliding, which is by Bernard Dobre and Lukas Niederzic from Postojna, who flew in the wave along the Croatian border or along the Croatian coast, which was really interesting to see. They flew 1,300 kilometers very fast, and they got 205 likes, which I'm not completely sure, but I think is the most liked flight of all times on WeGlide so far. So it got much attention. Then in February, something I really liked, it was just recently, a couple of days or 2 weeks ago, was Matthias Arnold, who did an interesting flight for 9 hours in February. He started on the ridge, then went to the wave, then went into thermals, then went back to the ridge, and then landed. So used the entire day. Was a fabulous idea and fabulous flight. He got 46 likes. And then now we are in March, and there is, of course, no flight of the month March yet. But of course, going back to January with 205 likes and with such a groundbreaking flight, by far the most kilometers ever flown in that area in Croatia, there was no doubt that we were going to invite Lukas Niederzic and Bernard Dobre for the flight of the month of January. So welcome, you two.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, everybody. Welcome, Bernard. Welcome, Luca. Nice to meet you here with Late Night Soaring.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maybe we can start with a short introduction of you two. I think Lukas Niederzic is probably pretty well known for being the inventor of the FES front electric sustainer system. So we had the pleasure to meet once in Königsdorf, right? Maybe Luca, can you talk maybe 2 or 3 sentences about you and where you fly normally?
So the last, I would say 10 years, I'm a member of Aero Club Postojna, and so sometimes I fly there, sometimes I go to Lesce, Bled, but anyway, I'm flying from 92, and so I can't believe it's already so long flying career. But I'm enjoying to fly at different places as much as possible. So,
yeah, it's great to have you here on the show. And then it's always fascinating for me to get a new face to a name which I already know, because of course Bernard Dobre has done some amazing flights, and he's been famous on the online contest and on WeGlide for a couple of things he's done. And now finally we see the face, and I'm really astonished how young you are, Bernard.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm flying since 2017, and I've done around 800 hours, and I also fly from Postojna. And Luca taught me a lot of things about flying. So yeah, I like making flights in areas that others don't. So yeah, it's interesting.
So let's talk a little bit about the idea of the flight. It was a wave flight, of course, and you did some wave flights in this area before?
Oh yeah, we both did some wave flights before. I've done like 6 flights before this one, but I've always done it with DG100, so it wasn't possible to fly with such a high speeds, and it also wasn't possible to fly for such a long distance because it's much more limited with the range because of the glide ratio.
But what was your longest flight before in the distance? Before this
flight? On the waves?
No, altogether. What was your longest flight?
840, I think.
840. Was it in thermals or in a wave?
It was mostly on thermals, but also with some ridge flying.
Okay, it's 840, and now I'm not sure how much. It was 1300, something like that. Your flight.
Yes.
So it's about 60% more, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And look,
could have it here on the map, Matthias.
Yeah, okay, Heiko, let's show us maybe in the OLC, in the flight finder, other flights in this area.
I focus now on Bernard himself. Yeah, you see here.
Okay.
His biggest flight so far, looking into this one. So that was the 840 kilometers, yeah.
Okay, that was most probably in the northern Föhn, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah,
it was.
Yeah. Was in the wind now, more or less, yeah.
It was a really slow flight.
And it must be said that it was with a DG100, so this is really something.
Yeah, as a special flight, 840 with a DG100. Wow!
Congratulations. 11 hours with 76 kilometers per hour. That's very slow and long.
Yeah, I was flying there for the first time. I've never been there before, so.
But Heiko, that's the same speed you're gonna fly with the H25, huh?
Yeah.
So now my question would be to Luca. What was your longest flight? Was the one which we are talking about today your longest flight as well, or your furthest flight, or not?
It was longest flight. Before I flew 2,000-kilometer flights from Slovenia, but this one was the longest. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was an absolute record-breaking day for both of you. That's really cool to see. And also here on the map, which Heiko is showing, maybe we can zoom out a little bit. Most of these flights, of course, are from Postojna, and maybe we can talk about a little bit what you normally do when you are based from Postojna. What are the normal flying styles and weather situations? And is it very common to fly in the waves towards Croatia, or is that something really special?
This is something what we start exploring. So last year, basically 2 years ago now, I made the first flight. So I went from about Postojna to 6,000 meters, and then going to Velebit, and at the Velebit I get a pretty good climb. So I went basically just for Slovenian altitude record. Because also the wind was pretty strong. It was more than 150 kilometers per hour. So I did not dare to go further direction Zadar, because anyway, into such strong wind is quite, even with the Ventus, is not that easy. But we were then thinking how to, my next goal was to go to 1,000-kilometer flight along the Velebit and direction to Livno, like we managed to complete then with Bernard.
Okay, I think in the meanwhile, Heiko showed us all a flight out of Postojna, isn't it?
Yes, you're right. And I think this was the biggest flight so far. And it was also last year in December. It was a 620 kilometer from Sandy Kavalic. Also in this direction, huh? Here you see that.
Yes, this was
right?
Yes, this was about I think was like two months or something before.
Yeah,
I was planning to fly on this flight with Sandy, but there was a Elix Now party in the evening, so I had to go to Celje, and in the morning, so basically Boštjan, who is the boss of our club, flew with Sandy afterwards, and I take off later, but was too late to get good waves. So I was a little bit jealous that, you know, that I did not went early from the party. So, but then when it was the next opportunity, so Sandy was busy with his job. So I invited Bernard to fly with me, because he's also very eager to fly this area. So, and he have good knowledge of communication with the air traffic controllers and these flight plans. So this is, it must be everything really done properly, because otherwise you are not legal to fly there. So this is also one of the reasons that there was not so many flights in this area before. So.
Yeah, and I saw here 6,400 meter, no? 6,400 meter with mountains of just 1,000 meters or so.
1,000 meters, yeah.
Actually, that day, on the same day, I made the national altitude record with 8,060 meters.
Oh, wow. Ah, that must have been that flight, right?
Yeah, that's this one.
Oh, this is so cool. Interesting.
7,000, 8,000 meters, yeah.
Yeah, I was flying so high because I wasn't sure if I was gonna, if it's possible to come back, and I was scared to be lower.
So maybe before we talk about...
There was only 2 or 3 flights in this area before, if I have...
Well, at least logged on the OSC. I'm sure there was some local flying, which is maybe not on the OSC or so before. But this distance flying, Luca, you have said that there is a lot of legal precautions to take and to do this really properly. Maybe could you tell us a little bit about what are these requirements regarding airspace and maybe flight plan or so? How can you do these flights along the Croatian border?
The problem is that in Croatia is controlled airspace from 300 meters about ground level up. So in any case, if we want to go from Slovenia to Croatia and then to Bosnia, so we need to fill a flight plan. So on my first flight, I went direction to, when I did also altitude record, so I filled the flight plan in the flight, so they were helpful, but it's not always. So of course, it's better to be prepared to feel it on the ground. And and Bernard, he was researching this area, how to do it a bit more, because he was also working at maybe Bernard can explain a bit more about. So.
Yeah.
But you use a transponder, I guess.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Don't let you fly here without transponder, because it's controlled area and they don't trust us, and I can understand them. Yeah, you have to fill a flight plan. Otherwise, they don't let you go to the other country, and it's the best thing to do is to just fill a flight plan in the morning before flight. And if you don't fly to the other country, you just close the flight plan and fly without it. So it's not a problem. You have much more problems if you don't fill a flight plan than if you do. So it's always a good idea to do it.
And do you get problems to get clearances to cross the borders or to cross some special areas, or is it okay?
It's actually
go wherever you want.
Oh yeah, it's actually really easy. You just have to call one control first. So in Slovenia, for example, we have Ljubljana information. You call Ljubljana information on 118.480, and then they tell you which frequency you have to contact. So when you go past the border, they tell you that you have to to contact Pula radar. And then if you go out of reach of Pula radar, you have to contact, for example, Zagreb information or Zagreb radar. And yes, they always tell you the frequency, and you just select the frequency and you contact this frequency. And in the beginning of the flight, they give you the squawk, and you have the same squawk the whole flight. And you don't have any major problems. The only thing you have to do is request the flight level. I normally request the flight level, the range of flight levels. From example, here on this flight, we are flying between flight level, I don't know, 170 and 195 most of the time. So I asked for flight levels between 170 and 195, and they approved it. So mostly I didn't have to talk to them. They saw us on the transponder, so it wasn't.
And they're familiar what we are doing with the glider, that we are not able to maintain the altitude and maintain the same track. So
yeah,
they're not confused about the flying what we are doing.
Now they are. When I started flying here, they weren't, and they wanted to tell me that I have to climb, but I couldn't, and they were angry at me. Yes, there was one controller that said,
"I'm angry with me as well. I can't climb."
Yeah, there was one controller that told me that I won't be allowed to go in the Croatian airspace if I do that again. And I didn't know what to tell him. I told him a few times before that I can't climb whenever he wants me to, but he didn't understand me. So I don't know.
In the meanwhile, the controllers are familiar with glider, what they are doing, because
now they are. Yes, they are now.
Okay.
We are training them, so
you trained them. Perfect. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the plan in the days before. Do you see the weather was coming and you said, okay, that will be the day to go, or how it comes?
Yeah, now the SkySight forecast is very helpful, as you know. And according to our experience, it proved quite reliable and accurate. So it's much easier to dare to go in such conditions to fly in this along the Adriatic Sea, because anyway the winds are strong and basically there's really not much possibility to outland. So we must stay high. But even if when you start, and it's really much easier now with the good SkySight forecast. So
yeah, and Heiko already showed us the wind chart, and it's a northeasterly wind. Is this the so-called Bora wind?
Yeah, Bora wind. It's maybe not so typical Bora, because typical Bora is when this cold air basically going down the slopes of Velebit, and you have very strong wind at the ground level. But in this case, of course, for the waves, the speed of the wind had to increase with the altitude. So it was strong wind also on the ground, but not typical Bora wind, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah, typical Bora wind, I think, is only on the ground normally. But higher than 2,000 meters, there is it's either changes direction or it's not so strong. So normally with typical Bora winds, we don't have good waves.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And do you see it in advance that this day will be a real good one, or you were surprised while flying how good it was? or you know it?
I think you even declared 1,000 kilometers, didn't you?
Yeah, we did, but actually I didn't really believe that it was possible on the day, because the forecast wasn't that good. We were the only ones flying because the others thought that the weather will be too bad to fly that day. The others didn't believe that it's worth to come to Postojna to fly.
Okay, what was the reason they believed that it's too bad? The wind is too less, or it's too humid, or what was the reason?
Yeah, there was not as much wind as 1 month before when we were flying. It was 1 month before, it was we had 140 kilometers per hour, and on that day it was forecasted that there would be only like 80 kilometers per hour of wind. And also it was forecasted that on that day it would be, the waves would be possible just until, I don't know, just in the morning until 2 o'clock or so. So it's after 2 o'clock it would be just enough wave to stay in the air. But the prediction was wrong.
You were lucky the prediction was wrong. Huh?
Yeah. There was much stronger wind during the afternoon that it was predicted.
But now in the satellite image, it looks like it's almost blue, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Mostly it was blue.
So you don't have any clouds, any lentis?
Just one.
There was one really, really beautiful and very long lenticular cloud, nearly a complete length of the Velebit. And we were lucky to get on, and we really enjoyed flying about that, just near the clouds. So it was really great.
Okay, I think you have some pictures of this flight, haven't you? So maybe you can show our visitors some amazing pictures from this wave.
Bernard, will you show, or I should show my?
You can show. You can show the pictures.
I will open so this is the first photo, like this. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yeah.
So this was the first photo I took. We were still in Aerotau. You see, this is the wing of our Citabria towing machine. So it was, you see, the sunrise still in the Aerotau. And okay, so next picture, I just need to see. Where can I?
You towed directly into the wave, or what was the beginning of the flight?
Yeah, it was directly into the wave.
Okay.
So you see, this was basically, here we were already close to Reka airspace. And this was the view to the northeast. So this is, I just maybe let the slideshow to go through. So I took a lot of pictures because most of the flight we flew just straight. So was plenty of time to do photos. So.
Oh, okay. It looks like it wasn't too warm, huh?
Yeah, it was I think most of the time was minus 30 degrees. So.
Yeah, it was minus 30 because the lowest that the thermometer can go is minus 30.
Okay, no, it never was below, of course. There I saw one airfield a few pictures ago. What's the landing situation if something goes wrong? So you have airfields over there?
Yeah, this is Kirk. Kirk Airfield, I think would be possible to land here, but with a quite strong side wind. So.
I think, Luca, if you press the space bar, then the automatic forwarding will stop.
Okay,
maybe that's
so
better.
let's hear. Yeah. So this is now Kirk, yeah. So because the wind is practically 90 degrees perpendicular to the direction of the runway. So I think here on this airfield, never any glider landed so far.
Okay, you have other outlanding possibilities, or is it pretty rare over there?
So here close to Rijeka is a little bit more into the, north of the Rijeka is a Grobnik, is a sport airfield with a concrete runway, but also the direction of the runway is so that the wind would be exactly 90 degrees, but would be possible to land there in case of trouble. So
you have a really wide runway, but a really short one if you go into the wind.
Yeah, something like this.
But in Grobnik, there is normally much less wind than on Kirk.
Yeah.
Okay, so generally situation, it's not a problem, the outlanding situation. You don't have to think about, you can just fly.
Yeah.
The problem if you lose, or maybe in the wave, if you go a little bit too much with the wind, and if the wind is very strong, and you try to search the wave into the wind, of course you can lose a lot of altitude. So, and if you are below the Velebit ridge, then you are in serious trouble. So in this case, there is a Loshin airfield, but it's about 40 kilometers south. So you would need to cross quite a lot of sea, and probably it would go some strong sinking and maybe some up due to the secondary or a third wave. But technically, I think would be possible to land, and just a retrieve would be quite problematic. So
okay, that's the next problem.
Yeah. So
okay.
So this is still quite early in the morning. So this is a beginning of the Velebit here. So in the morning on the east was still quite a lot of clouds, but they dissipated during the day.
And the first leg, you go how far out from the start point?
First leg, Bernard, was about how much?
300 kilometers, I think.
300.
A little bit more than 300 kilometers.
And that was a declared turn point, because you said you declared 1,000K task.
Yes,
okay.
It was.
Is there a chance to go on into Bosnia?
Yeah, it is. There is a chance, but on that day, it was forecasted that there would be no good waves after Livno, so we had turn points there.
So here and in the blue, did you mostly follow the SkySight forecast on your Alex, or what other hints did you have to find the wave there, the line?
At the beginning, we mostly followed the SkySight. But later on, the SkySat was wrong. It was the wavelength was forecasted to be much shorter than in reality. So in the afternoon, we had to find waves ourselves. But it was not that hard to do it, because it was mostly the same line as the one before. So. But on some parts also we were looking on the ground at the ridges, of course, and also on fractus clouds. So yeah, we didn't just trust the SkySight, but it's a good help.
Okay, and then you turn 300 Ks out, go back to your start point, or did you go further to the north, or where was the second turn point?
The second turn point was around where we started. Okay. Actually, the start was we wanted to start from Ajdovština. It is north from Postojna, but then we saw that if we start from Ajdovština, it would take too much time, so we moved the first point to be south of Postojna. So and that's why we started there, and it was also the second turn point.
Okay, and then you were back of around 600 kilometers. What time it was?
It was, I think, around 1 o'clock. Is that right, Luca?
Yeah, something like this. So I don't know exactly.
Yeah, just to get a rough idea for our visitors. And sunset was at what time?
At 5 o'clock.
At 5. So you have just another 4 hours.
Yeah. So, but we managed to reach the turn point. So we had the Saint Rock. So this is at the end of Velebit, where is a long tunnel for highway. And I think the time was about 2:30 or something like this. So, and when we were at this last turn point, we were actually already on the glide back. So, and I think if we would just go back, we would have average speed, I think 180 or even faster. So, but it would be
like
too
Argentina,
easy.
isn't it?
It would be simply too easy. So we decided that we should try to prolong the flight. So we need a little bit adrenaline. And,
yeah, it was too easy until then.
Yeah.
And it was easy till the end, or you got some problems? You said, "Ooh."
Yeah, we had some problems in Bosnia because there was practically no wind on the ground. So also the waves weren't good enough, and that's why we went a little bit further in Bosnia than we wanted to do it when we decided to prolong the flight, because we were sure that there is gonna be some good wave, but there wasn't. So we had to turn back, and we were a bit lower, and that's why also we had to do a turn. So we lost a few minutes there. But
what is a little bit low?
It was 3,080 meters.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, we were looking for fields.
It's 3,080, of course.
We were flying at 6,000 all the day, and 3,080 was slow.
Yeah, okay.
So this is, for instance, Livno Airfield, which is in Croatia.
In Bosnia.
No, Livno, I mean Sin. Sin is in Croatia, this one. And on this picture, this is a Livno Valley, where is also airfield. So here is a concrete runway. This is location when a few years ago was qualifying Grand Prix. So basically this is a view back direction to Velebit. So completely blue, and here
this I think is a real amazing picture, because Benny, would you know where the waves are there to look?
Yeah, I just looked at this picture and I got a little bit scared.
Okay, thank you. It was the first idea I got as well.
I mean, I think I'm not the very worst wave pilot, but I'm really not good in blue wave. I really always have problems in blue wave.
Never, I would never find a wave in this condition. Never, ever.
So here on is a big ridge, is a Dinara mountain, and it worked pretty well in the direction of the first point. And so it was a little bit, we had quite a lot of discussion in the air, what to do, how to go. And so at some point, we were always not exactly the same thoughts, but eventually we managed to get some waves and to complete, to continue with the flight pretty well. So.
Okay, and then you made a fifth and a sixth leg. And what was the goal then? To go as far as possible? Or you said, okay, let's do the 1,300, or what was the goal then?
Yeah, we were talking about all the possibilities. Luca even had an idea to prolong the flight to Lesce, to get the national records, because we were sure that the national record is 1,270 kilometers, free distance between 3 points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we wanted to beat that. But yeah, in the end, it was actually 1,170 kilometers. So we wouldn't have to
still a goal.
care about it.
Next one.
Yeah, but so at the end we decided just to prolong the flight as much as we had altitude, so we could come back to Postojna without engine and just land in time. So
yeah,
that
was really amazing pictures for my view to fly wave over the ocean.
So
that's amazing, isn't it?
It's absolutely amazing. The cool thing is, I know some of these places because as a child with my parents, I sometimes for holidays went to the islands of Kirk or Pag or Lošinj. So I know some of the places from the ground, but I could never imagine that such views from the air would be possible in a glider in wave. So that's really cool to see.
So this one is Kirk. So this airfield is on the Kirk. This is Kirk. So this is a bridge to Kirk. So this was close to our second turn point back in Slovenia, and then we turned back direction for the third turn point. So this is still before the turn point.
And in the background, you can see the Alps. Is that the Alps?
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
These are the Alps.
Nice.
It was really, really great visibility. It was the first time that I was able to see through the Adriatic Sea to Italian mountains. So.
But it's a northeasterly wind. Isn't it possible to fly at the same day as like at Northfern in the Caravanks at the northern side? Or is it too far easterly, the wind direction for this?
I think if the wind is too much north, then I think it could be possible to fly on the waves, but not that fast because you have pretty strong headwind then when you fly back.
Yeah, okay. So, and with your wind direction, it won't be possible to fly in the ridges at the Caravanks. And
maybe it would be a good combination of, good timing. So you see, this wave appeared, and this was initially it looked like a secondary wave. But then we figure out it's actually primary wave, so we decided simply to catch it, and it was even better live there. So
the background of my question is we were talking with Klaus Ullmann a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the missing links. And so my question is, do you think there's a link to come out of the northern Föhn towards this area to fly wave over there?
Yeah, so the idea is maybe it would be possible to fly like a 1,000 triangle, maybe first on the wave here, and then trying to go to Lesce and to fly on the ridges, first direction to Brunico, and then to Maribor, and back to Lesce, get the wave and get back to Postojna. So we are thinking about this direction, but we will see.
Okay, if you do this, I promise it will be a flight of the month as well. Definitely.
So this wave was really, the biggest pleasure, I think, Bernard. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we thought it's far away, but then it was closer and closer, and then I flew on the beginning of it, and we had like 6-7 meters of climb, and yeah, then it was less climb afterwards, but we still had to fly at VNE to stay below flight level 195, and it looked amazing.
Okay, so the whole duration of the flight was how long you were in the air?
About 9 hours.
9 hours. That was from sunrise to sunset, wasn't it?
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Yeah, just to get a rough idea. Do you have the same weather maybe in the summer times where you have longer days? Or is it a special weather situation you just have in the winter times?
I think it's really a winter wave. In summer, it's too much disturbance from the thermal. So the wave, for sure, it would not be like this. Maybe some patches of waves, but not even close like what we experienced.
Okay, so because if you have more time of the day, it would be real big flights possible. Or is the problem the maximum distance of the legs? What do you think? What's maximum it's possible?
Yeah, the problem is not the legs are not the problem, because you can go further on from every event. So I think it's possible to make like 1,800. It would be possible probably, but in the beginning of March, because in the beginning of March it's still winter time and there are still conditions like this, but the days are longer. So I think those are the best days to do it.
Okay. So we can wait because it's now beginning of March, so we wait for that 2,000 K flight. The first 2,000 K flight in Europe will be in this area, huh? Maybe.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah, so you see in the evening, just before the landing, you see was still pretty nice wave above Reka. So this is available below, so it was pretty amazing. So this is already, we checked how well we.
Yeah, but this looks like the side forecast was not too bad because you said it.
Yeah, so this was check in the evening. So yeah. So anyway, here when we turn back, so this is then already map of the Balkan. So here is just the end of the I think Central Europe. It's end here. And I think here would be possible to jump to this Livno Valley and fly on the north, and then would be possible probably to continue on these waves. But the ridges are not so well defined here further on. So for instance, this is how to say, this was transition from Dinara to Velebit, and this was not so easy the first time. So we lose quite a lot of altitude, but then we find better. We figure out that we need to be a bit more north, and then we lose much less altitude. So it was much easier. So we need to learn how to really fly there and in such conditions. So these are just first tries. So
yeah, really amazing.
So yeah, maybe Bernard, if you have some pictures from your side, so.
I think I normally use your pictures.
Yeah, okay.
because my hands were too frozen to take pictures.
So what are the plans for the next day? If the next day comes, will there be a declaration of 1,250, or what would be the next plan?
I think the next plan is 1,000 out and return, because this flight was never done yet from Slovenia. So
And how far you have to go? You're already in Greece, or how far is it?
No, to Dubrovnik. To Dubrovnik.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So if I go back a few pictures, so basically we need to go approximately. Okay, so just to find the so here. So for instance, here Dubrovnik, this would be enough, right? But probably we would need to go here a little, basically to the border with Montenegro.
Okay.
Or maybe actually Nikšić, which is quite well in the Montenegro, would be a turn point. So we flew there.
Montenegro is also not a problem with airspace, with the controllers, or might be that problem.
We have no experience so far.
Okay.
I think it's not a problem probably, because if you don't land there, there is no problem. If you would land there, that's another story.
But maybe you try the first time the turn, but just before the border, declare this one, and to figure out what's going on if you're approaching the border.
Yeah, but probably if you have flight plan, I don't see a reason why that wouldn't let you into the airspace if it was free. And normally during the times with that much winds, it's normally the airspace is free on that altitude, because IFR traffic normally flies at much higher flight levels, like above flight level 300, and VFR traffic is on the dead days. There's normally no VFR traffic on that days, so it's not a problem with traffic. So I don't know why they wouldn't let us into the country.
I have another question. You most probably know the flight of Klaus Ullmann crossing from southern France towards Greece.
Yes.
But this was in a westerly wind situation, and he was flying westerly waves. Do you think it's possible to go in with easterly waves as well to the south towards Greece?
I think when it's south, you mean with east, completely east?
No, with your wind situation, northeasterly winds.
Yeah, so in this area, I mean, I think this is the only possible wind where would be possible to fly on the waves like this. So, okay. For instance, if the wind is from other directions, so south west, it's too much humidity. So it's not really possible, I think. So because of the sea, it's so humid there, it's not possible. So.
Yeah, but were you asking about if it's possible to fly in Greece with this wind? Right?
Yeah, that was the question actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's possible, but I'm not sure if it is possible to come there from Postojna, because normally if it's a really long distance, and normally there is not the conditions aren't good enough on the whole area.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the problem normally with these situations. So I think 1,000 kilometers out at the return, it's near the limit of those flights.
Okay.
I think.
And the new challenge in gliding is to cross the ocean. What about crossing the Adriatic Sea with northeasterly wind towards Italy? What do you think?
Yeah, this would be possible. Not too difficult, I think.
Yeah, we were talking about that when we were flying, and we saw that we have glide ratio nearly through the whole Italy. So we would come to the border of the Italy, to the Italian coast. We would come there at, I think, around more than 2,000 meters. So we were high enough, and we didn't even have more than 6,000 meters at that point.
So I guess you will do it. And sometimes, huh?
Yeah, I think, but the way back is is more problematic.
Yeah, maybe Klaus has had an advantage with his stamina to come back as a dual.
Bernard, you must tell what when you fill the flight plan. What was the reaction of the guys who received it?
Yeah, they said they thought that we were joking. They thought that it wasn't possible.
And afterwards you called him and said, I wasn't joking, let's have a look to the old sea, and 2 weeks later you will see I wasn't joking.
Yeah, they were some other guys, so they didn't even know where we flew. But the air traffic controllers said that they don't know who we are, but they know that we are crazy.
Great story. Okay, yeah, thank you very much. It was very interesting, and congratulations for this really great flight. So finally, I know Heiko has prepared a map with the missing links, and it was really interesting when we were talking about with Klaus Allman about what we can connect. And Heiko, you know what I'm talking about, huh?
Yeah. So I just prepared something out of all this investigation for this new maps, and so I did for the OLC for the meeting today. So Klaus is connecting Europe, I thought, and I looked into the whole Europe flights above 1,200 points, and you see them all in the European map. So you see flights above 2,200 points from very far in the west of Spain to Greece, and even in the Carpathia. Your flight, what we talked today, is also here. These flights from Klaus above the sea, and from Chill and Baptist, and so we discussed in other sessions. And Klaus' flight as well, even if we use some engine here, that was a flight to Greece and a long flight in Greece already. So looking into these, you see these flights in the Pyrenees, and actually most of them are done in the Pyrenees, these big wave flights. The flight from Serres to the Pyrenees and back is proved a lot of times now. After Cher did it about 10 years ago for the first time, so Klaus is doing it weekly, I would say, every time the Mistral is blowing. From Serres or from Southern France, this is a standard route for all people in Europe flying waves in the Southern Alps, so knowing this route. And of course, the northern route is well known. Switzerland, Königsdorf, flying this one.
Yeah, but not in the northerly winds, no? That's a difference.
Northerly wind, and with with southerly wind. Now, and with northerly winds, the southern routes here, I would say, well proved, this whole line. And this is maybe the 2,000 kilometer line from Klaus he's planning for. It's a straight flight, 2,000 kilometer. If he would start here in Wiener Neustadt or elsewhere here down there, it's much easier because he is gaining 2 hours or even 3 hours on daylight. Well, of course, but most of the flights are done at the moment from the west to the east. Like these flights, it's also in westerly wind from the west to the east. And this route to Greece was flown at least one time. So it's proven. Of course, we saw this Greece flight 2000. It was also a nice wave flight from Klaus and Alexis down in Greece. And he's talking about this flight to Crete already in his session when we talked about this flight to Greece. And I'm pretty sure he's thinking about the jump into Turkey, because it's also a lot of mountains there creating waves. Of course, we have your flight from Luca Bernard from today, and there is not a big gap. Of course, that was done in northeasterly wind. This was a complete west wind flight here, like these flights from Klaus to here. But nevertheless, that could work anyhow. The gap is not big. And we said Klaus connecting Europe, looking for the gaps. And of course, we see these nice flights from Romin and other guys in the Carpathia. And think about this area here. There's some mountains up to 2,700 meters here on the border of Serbia and Montenegro, what I saw. So it looks not bad. And also this flight along the Carpathians to the north, I stopped here on the Ukraine border, Soroli. But of course, they could go on. And here, the flight into the little Balkan mountains. These are mountains up to 2,000 meters or so, close to the Black Sea. That is all the stuff what is potentially possible. There are 2,000 kilometers in a straight flight, different routes. Interesting to think about. And Klaus for sure will do it. If you go from this is not proof from flight from the west to the east so far as I know, but from east to west, because of this nice triangle around the Corsica and so done by Baptist Chill, and Klaus did it as well already. Landed out here elsewhere, but nevertheless. So, and of course, mountains are there, and we know about these Murkovice flights and the Riesengebirge. We saw that's not, and what was also proved about, I don't know exactly, 10, 15 years ago, the Herbo brothers.
I think it's much longer ago. I think it was in the 80s or in the 90s.
Well, or even before we got the recorded flight via loggers. So this was done from southern France down to Marrakesh. Yeah, looks not bad, huh?
It stays interesting, and we're far away to say we're at the end. What's going on in gliding sports?
And we see a close of one gap again, today.
Yeah. For me, it was a real surprising flight because I never saw a flight in this area in wave before. So it was really fantastic. And it was so nice to have you here, Bernhard and Luca. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, thank you.
So, yeah, that was the flight of the winter. So that's the end of the winter session of Late Night Soaring. We will continue with the flight of the month of March at the beginning of April. The season started already in Europe now. I wish everybody nice flights and hope to see you soon again at Late Night Soaring. Happy landings and bye-bye.
Bye.
Same to you.